Leah Shabbos on Shmini Atzeres, something happened that I don't remember ever happening to me before. I didn't deliver the sermon I had prepared. I just couldn't. Having heard the news out of Israel, Israel was on my mind. And I just had to say what I was thinking. And so I told the congregation that my discussion about whether Trump or Biden are too old to be president would have to wait, and I would deliver it some other time if the two of them were still alive. And here, with some changes and additions, are what I had to say last Shabbos. I began by pointing out that the next day on Simchas Torah, as we're going to do on Shabbos Berishit, we read the first portions of the Torah, Bereshit bara Elokim es hashamayim ve'es haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then we have the famous comment that is made by the biblical commentator Rashi, which is really hard. Let me read it to you. Rashi says, in the beginning, God created heavens and earth. And Rashi comments, Rabbi Isaac said, the Torah, which is the law book of Israel, should have commenced with the verse, this month shall be unto you the first of the months, which is the first commandment given to Israel. So why, asks Rashi, did we have this entire book of Bereshit, the story of creation, and everything else, when it should have started with the first law? And he says, what is the reason then that it commences with the account of creation? And he gives this rather strange explanation. For should the peoples of the world say to Israel, you are robbers because you took by force the lands of the 7 nations of Canaan, Israel may reply, all the earth belongs to the Holy One, blessed be He. He created it and gave it to whom He pleased. When He willed, He gave it to them, and when He willed, He took it from them and gave it to us. Rashi seems to be saying that the whole reason why the Torah began with the story of creation is to have a lesson for the world that it was God who created the heavens and earth, and God gave the land of Israel to the Jewish people, and no one can take it from us. It's ours. Here, it's written. Strange comment. Didn't work out that way. The nations of the world have been questioning the Jewish people's right to Israel from the very beginning up to the present day. It didn't work. But my father of blessed memory explained that's not quite what Rashi is saying. Rashi is not saying that the Torah began with the story of creation to let the nations of the world know that it's God who rules and God gave the land to the people of Israel. What Rashi is saying is that if the nations of the world come and say Israel is not ours, you Jews should know that it was given to us by the creator of the universe. You should never question our rights to this land. Unfortunately, that hasn't worked either. If anything, in the last few years, more and more Jews have become critics of Israel. The rabbi in California who speaks about Jewish imperialism or whatever, the rabbi in New York who won't make a prayer for the government of Israel, the 350 rabbis who signed the document that they won't allow certain members of the Knesset into their synagogue, the Tony Jutts and the Peter Beinharts and all the others. What have they accomplished with their criticism? If anything, all they have done is encourage our enemies. I have to tell you, I don't agree with everything that Israel does. Remember, Jewish critics of Israel don't simply disagree with some of Israel's policies. I disagree with some of them also. But I don't try to force my opinion on the people living in Israel. Remember, Jewish critics of Israel, if nothing else, are saying that they know that it's better for Israel, what's better for Israel than the majority of the Israeli people. Remember, Jewish critics of Israel, if nothing else, are certainly giving our enemies hope. J Street might call itself pro-Israel, but it certainly does not support the policies of the elected government of Israel. What J Street is pro is J Street. And let me ask you, how can all of these critics from here be so sure of what should be done there? How do these American Jewish critics know for sure that they would feel the same way if they were living on the West Bank instead of the West Side of New York? And then, in light of the Hamas attack, I asked the critics of Israel, when you woke up Shabbos morning, did you have to hide in a bomb shelter? Did you have to go looking for your children? Did you worry that your wife had been taken hostage? Were you concerned that your children were at a rave concert where Hamas killed over 200 of them? No. So, if you didn't experience that, how do you know how Israel should respond? Would all that make you say to yourself, we have to do everything possible but peace because this is no way to live? Or would you say any people who could do such murderous, barbaric acts to Jews can never be trusted, and we must make no concessions? Would you say we have to make peace with the Palestinians at all costs? Or would you say the gamble is too great, the cost is too high, and we've paid enough? After all, do you know what the Hamas charter says? Let me read a couple of paragraphs. In the preamble, Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it obliterated other people before it. Article 13. Peace initiatives and so-called peaceful resolutions and international conferences are contradiction to the principles of the Islamic resistance movement. Those conferences are no more than a means to appoint the infidels as arbitrators in the lands of Islam. There is no solution for the Palestinian problem except for jihad. Initiatives, proposals, and international conferences are but a waste of time, an exercise in futility. Do you know how these words would ring out in your mind if your children or grandchildren were now being called up by the Israeli Defense Forces to defend Israel against these people? You don't know. And that's why we have to understand that we as American Jews are partners of Israel. But Rabbi Harold Schulweis put it so well when he once wrote, between Israeli and diaspora Jewry, there exists at best a limited partnership. That partnership enjoys the cultural and spiritual projects of the investment, but the diaspora partners assume no risk for the liability the partnership may incur. A limited partnership is not a full partnership. To blur the distinction between kinds of partnership is to empower people who do not make aliyah, who do not serve in Israel's defense forces, who do not pay its taxes, and who are not subject to its government with the same privileges, duties, and rights as Israeli citizens own, to maintain or alter the politics of a democratic government. Or to put it differently, you know the story of the chicken and the pig who are walking down the street when they see a sign in the restaurant window, ham and eggs for breakfast. The chicken is calm, but the pig panics. The chicken asks the pig why he's so upset, and the pig explains, from you, they want a donation. From me, they want a commitment. We should now fully understand American Jews make the donation, but it's the Jews of Israel who have made the commitment to put their lives on the line. We owe it to them to support from here what they've chosen to do there. It's the people of Israel who have made the total commitment, and it should be left in their hands to make the decisions by which they and their children will live, or God forbid, die. And I concluded my words last Shabbos by saying to the critics of Israel, a few years ago in my Kol Nidre sermon, I turned to the American critics of Israel and said, it's time to choose. Are you with us or against us? In light of what is now taking place in Israel, I turn to American critics, Jewish American critics, and say, it's time to make a choice. Put up or shut up. There'll be better days. There'll be days ahead when we will experience the promise of the prophets. Odi Shama Bi'arei Yehuda v'chutzot Yerushalayim. They will yet be heard in the outskirts of Judea and in the streets of Jerusalem. Kol sason v'kol simcha. The sounds of rejoicing and celebration. Shabbat Shalom.